This will be my 9th year judging ProStart, and I've done menu and recipe every year but one. I did Nice Skills one year. So it's it's a category that to me it's easy points. It's kind of like the health inspector. Make sure the handle is not, if your ice scoop is not sitting in the ice bin, they will catch you every time. So the category is something that it's all pre-planning. It's not part of that in the moment, stress. So that, to me, if you prepare for it and you turn everything in properly, it should be an easy 5 points.
Okay, awesome. And what 5 things to you stand out as a judge in menu and recipe?
The biggest thing, well, I've kind of listed them in order here. When what we call M&P, which is method and procedure, when you're writing that out, please list it as bullet points. It's hard to read a recipe that's in paragraph form. And also when you write it in paragraph form, that's where a lot of punctuation errors occur. So if you just do it in bullet points, it alleviates all that and it makes it easier for us to read. All the recipes, if you're going to do them in ounces, do all the recipes in ounces. If you're going to do them in grams, do them all in grams. But in the past, we have seen it where the appetizer will be in ounces, or let's just say the appetizer itself, some of the components will be done in ounces, and you get to the garnish or you get to the sauce and it's in grams. So just, whichever one you do is fine, but just pick one and stick to one.
Okay, keep it consistent.
The third one is be as concise and not as you can. Don't be really wordy, but so just be as accurate and concise as possible because it'll cut down on your errors, which will, in the end run, it will give you more points. Watch your conversions. A lot of people, let's say they'll start out doing a recipe for 50, and then they'll want to click that down to 4. And when they do their conversions, sometimes the amounts might be right, but when they do the mathematical extension, that's where they make their errors. And math is one of these things that's either right or wrong. I'm not an accountant, but when you're doing math, if it's off by 20 cents or if it's 1 cent, it just depends on maybe whether they round it up or down. We can live with that. But just watch your conversion when you're moving from a large recipe to a small one. Clear photos. Sometimes we see pictures that, whether the light's bad and they're using a green plate with a lot of green items on it and they put it on a green or a brown placemat. Earth tones will hide the features of your food. So whether it's white plates, whether it's a white background, do whatever you can, whether it's lighting, to make sure that your photos come out, very crisp and very clear. Because some of the schools that they might be competing against have some of these CETs or CTE centers, and they may have a photography school there, and they'll run it over there and have the students really, really nice photos. But the key is just read the directions on the photos and follow them. You don't have to have photo quality that's going to be in Vogue magazine. It doesn't have to be that, but just make sure that the photos that you do turn in, give the features and benefits of your food. Give it as much pizzazz as you can. Double, triple check your math. It's like long enough. It's kind of that brain drain. You got to get up and walk away from it. So whoever is doing the math on it, do it and then give it to one of your team members to check. If you got a math club at your school, get them to check it. Someone who needs to sit there and explain it to them. Right. But get more than one set of eyes on it, because once you look at something long enough, it will become invisible to you. But then also make sure everything's in the proper order. Sometimes we'll be going through a book and it's like, where's this? And it's not in the right place. So if you read format for the competition, and I like the changes that are posted, because there's some that make it a little bit easier for us. It's not about making it easier for us, but if it's more organized, if you do go on the state, that's where things get a little tougher. We look at things a little bit harder because there's only 12 teams instead of maybe 21 teams. So we got more time to look at it. But if you should be honored enough to win this thing and go to nationals, they're going to look at everything. So if you go to regional and everything looks good, it doesn't mean it's right. We may have missed something. So don't take it for granted just because maybe you got a 5 in the menu category that we may have missed some punctuation, And when I say words, if you want to put the word there, is it THERE or THEIR? Make sure that your tenses are correct and you've got the right words. But look at it all, because the people that end up and you know how this thing works. Sometimes it comes down to a quarter of a point on who's first, who's second, who's third, and who doesn't go to state.
Okay.
So yeah, just definitely check your punctuation, check your math, make sure it flows, and check your conversions.
Okay. Can you give some advice on like a pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper? That
is a great point, because my pinch, and let's say you got a guy over here who plays high school basketball, and his pinch, mine could be an eighth of a teaspoon, and theirs could be a quarter of a teaspoon. So if you want to list a pinch, you can do that by weight. You can do that as a 16th of a teaspoon, because also a pinch of cayenne can have an effect on your recipe. But also one thing that, some judges want to count for it. Some people, just want to bring it up in their critique. But when you use the term to taste, that is not a recipe. So salt, kosher salt to taste, black pepper to taste. Like I said, use measurements, because it can be part of your Q factor on the recipe costing. But when it comes to, flavor profile, if I'm a Victor Lise and I'm looking at it, it's going to look at it and say, well, tell me what a pinch is, or tell me what a taste is, because that can make or break. Some things are insignificant, but like I said, when you get to things like, cayenne, fresh red pepper, a pinch can make a difference in your final score in the food. But yeah, do it by measurement. If you want to do it, but like I said, if you want to do it by weight, great. But just make sure that you can cost out that weight, especially herbs and spices. When you're purchasing those, it can be a 2-ounce container, it can be a 26-ounce container. So you're buying that by weight. So I would calculate the recipe by weight, because you can apply a cost to weight. It's hard to apply a cost for a dry seasoning by volume.
Can you also just give us a little oversight of the Q factor, like because I know there's a lot of teams that are new this year, like what exactly that
Yes.
means?
Now I looked through the new, some of the new format. I believe that is Q factor still, you can add 1% to a recipe for Q factor.
I believe it's
That's
still
the way it's been in the past, is you can add 1%. That 1% is no biggie, but make sure, like when I spoke earlier, to make sure that your conversions, make sure if you're going to add 17 cents for Q factor, that you add that into the cost of your recipe. Because some people will list it, but they don't add it. And if they don't add it there and they're trying to price it out at 33%, well, that's 17 cents in Q factor at 33% comes out to 51 cents on the menu price.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we find when I say watch your conversions. Make sure if you're going to do it here, that you do it there. And since we're talking about menu prices, we will see a lot of people that they've got an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert that it comes out to, let's say, $20. They listed at 33%, so they're at $60. But then we will go, and it's not a deduction, but we'll go and tell them, say, look, you guys are in a business, wink, wink. Why not figure that out? 33% is the maximum. You can't go over that. But you can run something at a 17% and show us that you're in this to make more money.
Exactly.
Because that's one thing, like I said, it's not a deduction, but we do bring up the fact a lot of times that they just stuck to that 33%. And if they were in the real world, they just cost them still $12 or $15 or $20, whatever it is.
Okay. Sounds good. So what is your overall advice from a judging standpoint in menu and recipe?
My overall advice is just to be thorough, double and triple check your work, because when you turn in those folders at check-in, you ought to know that you've got 5 points in the bag.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, as far as flavor, if something says that they're going to put a tablespoon of salt in something, as long as the math on the tablespoon of salt adds up, it's correct. It's going to be up to the tasting judges to gag on that thing when they taste something with a tablespoonful of salt.
Right.
Yeah, so we're looking to make sure that the ingredients and the math match.
Okay, one last thing before we go. I just want you to introduce yourself. I didn't do this up front, and tell us how many years you've been with the industry and what your background is.
Okay. My gosh, I've been with Cisco Foods in North Texas for 20 years, but I've been in the business since I was 13. Started out scooping ice cream. I'm a graduate of El Centro College. Go El Centro. I'm on their advisory board. I'm also on the El Centro Wall of Fame. But I've been doing this, God, I'm trying to do this without telling you exactly how old I am, for over 40 years.
Yay.
Never not been in the business.
Great.
Yes.
Well, it was great talking to you, Whitey. Thank you so much for giving us all of your insight and your expertise, and we will see you in Frisco.
We will see you in Frisco, and have a great week.
You too.
All right.